The European Union is asking the United Nations to back a plan for military action to curb human smuggling in the Mediterranean. It's just one of the EU's proposals to help stem the flow of migrants boarding unsafe boats in hopes of reaching Europe from North Africa.
Now, the EU's foreign policy chief told the UN Security Council the EU wants to destroy the boats used by smugglers.
The crucial thing for the European Union is destroying the business model of the trafficking and smuggling organizations, making sure that the vessels cannot be used again, making sure that the assets of these organizations are destroyed in a larger sense. I think that on the need to dismantle the model, dismantle the networks and their assets, there is a large, let's say, consensus about the need to act quickly and together as an international community.
Well, Libya, the departure point for many migrants fleeing Africa, will likely object to that proposal. In an interview with CNN last month, the head of Libya's army said his country would not cooperate with that plan.
Meanwhile, Indonesian and Malaysian authorities now say more than 2,000 migrants have been rescued at sea in just 2 days. Most of them are Rohingya Muslims fleeing Myanmar or Bangladeshis.
Now, at least 1,000 people landed on the Malaysian island of Langkawi. That's close to the Thai border. The others rescued off the Indonesian coast. Almost 400 people found there early on Monday after fishermen spotted more than 500 people on Sunday near Aceh.
This all comes after Thai authorities started a crackdown on smugglers, including the arrest of 2 suspects on Monday. Thailand is normally the preferred destination for many smugglers. Here to talk more about this is Phelim Kine. He's the Deputy Director of the Asian Division of Human Rights Watch, and prior to that he was a journalist for more than a decade in China and Southeast Asia, and he joins us from New York. Thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Firstly, just give us a sense of the desperation of these people and describe just why they are fleeing Myanmar.
Yeah, what we're seeing really is a flotilla of human misery that speaks to 2 things. And the first thing is that it speaks to the worsening discrimination, victimization, and violence that the Muslim Rohingya are, suffer in Myanmar in the western province of Arakan. And the second thing it speaks to is the absolute depravity and ruthlessness of human traffickers who are seeking to profit from their misery. And these 2 factors are coming together, and as a result, we are seeing this huge number of boats coming over to Malaysia and to Indonesia.
And I guess also it shows what happens when there is a crackdown, because Thailand has been cracking down on the people smugglers. So that's just shifted the problem, and you have this horrible situation where a lot of these refugees are actually literally stuck at sea on boats.
Michael, you're absolutely right. You know, the traffickers have very deftly sidestepped the crackdown in Thailand. Traditionally, of course, it was an overland route through Thailand. They would be held, the Rohingya would be held in these camps on the Malaysian-Thai border in often very horrific conditions. They are now being held on boats, and we're noticing that these people who are straggling ashore in Malaysia and in Indonesia have often not been fed in days. They're dehydrated, they're ill. So it's really speaking of the worst exploitation of extremely desperate people who are suffering increasing abuses back home in Myanmar.
We heard from one of the local Malaysian disaster management agencies who described how one of the people smugglers arrived in the Malaysian waters and basically said to everyone to jump into the sea and swim to shore. One of the women was pregnant. There were obviously a lot of kids under the age of 10. Can you describe the sort of condition they were in when they reached the shore?
When they reached the shore, you know, these were people who hadn't been fed in many days. They were suffering from exposure. Many children and women, as you mentioned, at least one of them pregnant, in extreme circumstances, who had been, horrifically neglected. And the fact is that, this is a crime and an ongoing crime that keeps happening because, to a large extent, the perpetrators get away with it. The traffickers are not getting busted the way they should.
And on the political front too, we're always talking about, it's the same with in the Mediterranean with those fleeing to Europe from North Africa. Looking at the push factor in the push-pull argument of these people with the Rohingya, they're fleeing repression, and that's the problem. What sort of pressure is being put on Myanmar to stop that?
Well, this is something that the countries concerned, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, they really need to speak up and demand that this years of abuse and discrimination and violence against the Rohingya come to an end. You know, until Myanmar and the Myanmar government actually grants these its Rohingya population the rights that it is entitled under international law, these abuses are going to continue, and the spillover is going to be these boatloads of desperate people being horrifically exploited by these human traffickers.
Yeah, Phelim Kine, Deputy Director of the Asia Division at Human Rights Watch. Always great to get your thoughts. Appreciate that. What a terrible story you're here to tell. But thanks for telling it.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.